Welcome to the Travel Ones podcast, and today my guest is Lindsay Myers. Lindsay is a TV host and lifestyle expert and kind of a budget travel expert, and that's what I'm hoping to get a little bit of hacks and tips from her today. How are you today, Lindsay?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I really appreciate the time. Getting to talk to a television host is kind of cool. How did you kind of get what's your background and how did you get started with that?
Yeah, I went to school and I did media production. It was my degree, and that was everything from broadcasting to, I did some production in school, and then I backpacked around the world. So that travel was kind of thrown at me at a young age, and then I moved to New York City, and I worked for NBC. I actually worked for the Maury Povich Show, which is comical and very crazy and fun. And that television kind of has always been in me. It's taken me to, this this point in my life to kind of figure out my path within that. But I always had that in me. It was like travel and also television was always kind of like my golden dream to pursue.
You're saying that was your goal right out of the gate? Because I'm just curious how
it was my goal.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think I knew exactly how I was going to do it.
Sure.
I think that, I wanted to travel every day of my life forever. Don't we all? Well, some of us.
Yeah.
But it's not realistic. I think that obviously we have to have a job and make some money. But that first trip for me, I did not grow up traveling. We were kind of a road trip family. I grew up in the South, so we'd go to Florida or we'd go to Tennessee where I was born and my grandparents were there. But I never got on a flight, international. I didn't do any of that. And I think that is common for a lot of Americans. I don't think that a lot of Americans grow up just doing all these crazy international trips. And, so when I first had that insight into the world outside of my bubble, it was opened up a whole nother kind of scope for me. I mean, my brain kind of exploded in a beautiful way. And I just knew I needed to have travel in my life somehow, forever, no matter in some aspect. And, that's what led me to New York City. And because in my mind, I said, if I can't travel forever, what's a city that is so alive like it is around the world? So that was New York for me. It was, I could go to Chinatown, Little Italy. Every street for me was culture and people, and I loved it. So that's what brought me to New York. And, I just started applying for everything. And through production, I really wanted to be in television. And I thought production was such a great place because you can start as a production assistant. You start at the bottom and learn everything. And then I thought through that, I will kind of find out what I want to do here. Where am I going?
Where are you going to fit?
Here? Yeah. And it was amazing. I mean, it was eye-opening and crazy. And, I have stories for years from that crazy point in my life. But it's I always say it was boot camp for life for me. From New York to the job, we're talking 16 hours a day in production. We're talking about, I loved being, kind of starting out at this position because, I assisted 2 supervising producers. So it's everything was on the table. I did everything. I had my hands in everything, which was great. And I kind of learned so much about life and a work ethic and a passion behind things. And I use that still to this day. And that's also why I can kind of do what I do now. I've been on both sides of the camera and, being on the other side of the camera now in front of it, I already know what production wants and is getting at through storytelling or content or any of that. So that whole time period when I was young has helped me across the board to get to where I am right now today.
And how did you, I know one of the questions that my listeners are going to have is, how did you end up finding a husband that would put up with that? I mean,
put up with all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, you're literally traveling around the world, and I don't know if he gets to go with you, or is it something you just take off and say, hey, I'll be back in a couple of weeks. I've got to go over here. And
I am very lucky that so we met in New York, but he was an international teacher.
There you go.
He spent most of his time in Korea and Dubai and South America, Colombia. So exactly. So we bonded immediately kind of over this international love of travel and or just travel in general. It doesn't have to always be international. And, that's how we kind of sparked the whole thing in the first place. And then, we have grown to a point where he works with me now. So like we together are the brand and, creating the content and everything like that. And so it's totally worked out. I am especially weird when I talk about my stories. It sounds like I'm all over the place. And also, I bounce around a lot. But I'm so lucky I found someone that is equally likes that and does that too.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm on the road about 110 to 125 days a year for my job. And a lot of our friends, my wife and I, they're like, how do you deal with that? It's like, well, I'm gone when I'm gone. I stay in contact. And then when I'm home, I'm home. We do.
Oh, that's good.
We do date night once a week if I'm home. That's, this last,
I love that.
This last 6 months has been the longest I've been home in 10 years. So it's kind of a weird
How's that
thing.
been? Have you enjoyed it or is it hard?
At first I thought my wife designed it because all of a sudden the honey-do list was getting done. And, oh, you can fix the bathroom and, oh, you can, recaulk that. Oh, let's paint the entire inside of the house. Let's do that. And I was like, but once that all got done, it's like, okay, now I want to get back to work. So it's been great. It's, she, as she says, she doesn't want to punch me in the throat too often. So we're getting along well.
Hey, that's a win. That's good.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's been, I think, adjustment and challenging for all of us. I mean, I've been lucky that my husband and I, for the last couple of years, have been working together. So I feel like we've been in lockdown. We've been trading for this. But it's, in my, the brand is built around, like you said earlier, kind of this budget travel lifestyle. And that all, again, stems from my early days in traveling abroad on very little money.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily about the price tag for me, but it's about the experience and the takeaway with travel. And so, but I want to encourage everyone in the world that there is no limits. Like if you do want to take that lifetime trip to Italy or, wherever you have on your bucket list, like you could do it now. You don't have to wait till you retire. And I think people always are obsessed with it costs too much or how, and so that's the light that I want to shed on people on it all is that, there's different ways, creative ways, I constantly want to think outside the box for people to help them achieve these things and see the world. Because it's the greatest thing in the world to travel and be able to experience and learn new things and meet new people and cultures. To me, it's the best thing in the world.
I love people like I interviewed travels with Darlene Newman, and she travels around the world and does a PBS show. But for you, it's like because it's a business. So now you're trying to show people how to travel on a budget within your own budget of running your business. So it's just,
exactly.
Because now you're worrying about content and this and that. So you get to write off the business trip side of it. Right?
True. So, yeah, no, it's 100% true. I've made it my business, which is a dream that's come true for sure. But I want to shed light. I don't want to just show people. I want people to be empowered that they can do it themselves or feel that they, are getting tips or takeaways that they're learning, not by just observing, but by doing.
No, that's. I mean, you got the best of both worlds in that sense. I mean, you're literally helping people travel and see things that maybe they've always wanted to see, and you get to use it as a business write-off. I mean, I get to go to part of my territory is Hawaii, so
amazing.
People are like, "Oh, you get to go to Hawaii for work," and I'm like, "Well, yeah. I mean, most of the time it's great, but it's still a job. I still have to go over there with my work, and I still have to get things done, and I have accounts on 4 different islands, so I'm island hopping with all my gear and all that. So
yeah."
But yeah,
I mean, it's a lot too to work on the road. Yeah, no, it's super. It's really great. And I think there is obviously, when we're traveling, like you just said, I want to immerse myself and really be in the moment and travel. But like you said, there still has to be a little bit of work that has to be done. Yeah. So, I always have to remember that and always have to make sure I execute that, but not losing why I'm there or the place I am and all of that as well.
I was curious too, when you're traveling, because do you ever turn it off? Do you ever get to just enjoy the vacation part of it? Because for me, I know my brain's always working. Like, oh man, I wish I would have had my camera for this, or I could have taken this picture, I could have done this, or I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I was just actually talking about this recently because it is, because I mean, it's also, I'm still kind of a newer brand, I would say. I think I'm just beginning, in my mind. Sure. So it's like I have that kind of hustle always in my mind of like, kind of I need to do something with this and, all of these things. So it's hard for me to turn it off. It's something I need to work on because I'm trying to set boundaries right now with just like a weekend day. That's why I made a joke to you earlier about, is it Friday? Because I'm bad at that. Like I'm really bad at setting, like, how about just take a day off or don't do anything related to, work whatsoever. I think it's harder now than ever because we all are, most of us are working from home. I always have, but, I think that it's harder than ever though, because I think that people are at home. So everyone's just working all the time. There's not even like a clock in and clock out anymore. It's kind of the cycle
so
of
true.
Just, but we have to create those boundaries. It's healthy, and I think that I am good enough. I am good at when I travel to make sure I am in the moment, not taking any of it for granted. But I do know a lot of people that travel all the time, and they're more worried about like capturing that perfect picture than they are about immersing in the local culture. Yeah. And that's what I don't ever want to get to because I don't want to lose, those moments or why I'm there in the first place. And people can. I mean, I guess it's easy to get swooped up in that, but you have to divide it at some point and kind of check in with yourself.
Well, yeah, my wife she doesn't give me a hard time, but we talk about does it happen? Does that good time happen if you don't put it on Instagram? No. A lot of our friends don't see a lot of fun stuff, and like I found myself like I always take pictures when I'm out having fun. When I'm on the road, because I mean, I'll be gone for 5 straight days next week. Well, I'm not going to take pictures of my work because no one wants to see that part necessarily. But so when I stop at a museum or I stop at the beach or I stop and take pictures, everyone's like, "Oh, all you do is have fun." I'm like, "Well, you want to see me sitting in my car for 5 hours, or do you want to see where I end up?"
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we talk about that a lot too, because, there are certain people on social media that kind of dictate their whole life, right? From when they wake up to what they eat throughout the day. Yeah. And it's like, I'm never going to be that person. If I can bring something, to the table of, whether it is funny laughter or whether it's tips and tricks or whatever, I'm concentrating on that. It's like, I'm not going to do a play-by-play necessarily. But there's some people that do that. And I guess some people like that. But no, it's funny though, because people say that all the time. If it's not on social media, did it happen? Because that's so much of our world now is that, everything is right there for everyone to see at all times.
It's I think for younger people, I was talking to some people last night, went over to a friend's house for the debate, and we were talking about that. Like the younger generation is just, they grew up with a phone. I mean,
yep.
We were one of the kids was over there. He's 14. He's in high school, and we were talking about life and all that. And I said, "Well, give me your phone." He goes, "No." I said, "Give me your phone. Let's get rid of it for an hour." He's like, "No." He couldn't. He struggled trying to give me his phone. And that, my daughters when I was a kid, I would have hated the phone. But that was just me because when I was gone, I knew I was gone. Like my parents couldn't get a hold of me. So like I might get in trouble when I get home, but for this next couple hours, it's bliss, But now
that's amazing.
Now with my kids, it's like the punishment was, give me your phone. No, I'll do whatever you want. And I was like, geez. The punishment was. It's
so true. I mean, I think I did not grow up with social media, and I got a phone when I was 16 because I got I got my license, but it was for emergency case only. It was like if I was on the side of the road and I needed to call for help, and I was like not allowed to even turn it on unless something happened, and they could see that, but it's a challenging time for the youth now because I hate to say this, but I'm happy I didn't grow up with social media.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a totally different thing. Like I can't imagine because we're going through so much as kids anyways, with changes and hormones and everything. And so it's for everyone to document that. And but, I just think it's got to be super challenging to have that in the youth. And they're going to their phones. They get them so early now too. They get them really little.
Oh, now it's a babysitting tool. It's, you see when I go to restaurants, because all of my meals when I'm on the road are by myself. So I tend to people watch, and I'm watching these parents, and they just give these kids their phone or they have their own, and the kids just disappear for an hour so they can eat their meal. But because the kids are just soaked into their phone.
And now, and it's like everything, like think about just like domestic travel now, it's like, I think so basically through COVID, obviously I've had to kind of reinvent, the language behind the things I give tips on, cause I can't just say, go travel and have to, I obviously want to keep safety in mind. And, so, I've been trying to really encourage domestic travel, road trips, we could be safe in certain ways and, also support local, just kind of like, maybe check out your own backyard. Maybe, a lot of stuff in the town you don't even maybe look at or explore usually. So, with that, going back to the technology, it's like I laugh because it's, my sister has 2 kids and road trips. I mean, they're like, just hand them iPod, whatever it is, put the headphones on, hand them a little tablet of some sort, and they're good on a road trip for a long period of time. But I mean, growing up, I loved my road trips with my family. We played so many games. I had from the license plate game, trying to find one from every state to it all dealt with our surroundings. It all dealt with things outside and that was fun. It was engaging. It was, we didn't have a television in our car like a lot of them do now or tablets. It made us be creative.
And like you said earlier, I was the same way. My family, we didn't do trips. My parents both worked, and I played sports. My sister played sports. So between our sports and my parents working, we didn't take vacations. I mean, we did smaller trips, and a lot of their days off were for football games or gymnastic tournaments, and those were their vacation days. So now, as an adult, that's what I love about travel, because I was always imagining what it was like in San Francisco or South Dakota or Florida or Texas or, Mexico or Canada, and now I get to explore that. And I don't know how, I think technology is like, if you want to see what it looks like in Tokyo right now, I'm sure there's someone live streaming Tokyo, Japan right now. But as a kid, I always had to imagine what it was like.
Yeah, but the imagination is amazing at the same time too. It's like, I remember imagining what Italy was, or like, and then stepping foot on it the first time. It's just like, it's the coolest feeling. I liked that I kind of had a naiveness to a lot of the travel or what things were like, because then it's like, everything, and then it was just made it all so much bigger and brighter and grander, I think, when I finally stepped foot in, somewhere else. And I think also too, I kind of started Get Lost with Lindsay, which is the brand, in the first place, is because, I, just like you, like I was saying earlier, we didn't travel that much. I didn't feel deprived. That's not what I'm saying at all. I did not feel deprived. I had a very rich childhood and tons of different adventures and different things. And, but I, at any point in your life when you can or want to have these kind of travel experiences, I want to show you how, because, I think so much of travel, and also now because of social media, I think that it's concentrated on, people see that famous picture in Positano with the umbrellas, it's like, people think they need to aim for stuff like that. And it's like, you don't have to try to recreate these famous Instagram pictures or anything like that. there's so many different avenues that you can do travel, and it does not have to be these luxury resorts, because in my opinion, I would rather be in the middle of, I just spent 2 months in Tulum, for instance, during quarantine, and we had an apartment in town. And you say that to people, and they're like, town? I'm like, yes, not the resorts on the beach. We were with the locals. It was very inexpensive. It was gorgeous. Our apartment was amazing. We did it on Airbnb kind of thing. I did remote work essentially. And, but we got to eat the 50-cent tacos every day with the locals, and then going down to the beach. Of course, it's beautiful, but I felt like I was surrounded by New Yorkers and people from LA, and the prices were in US dollars. And I'm like, we're in Mexico. Why are they in pesos? So that's how I try to guide people. And because it's like, if you are just going to aim for being a tourist everywhere, of course it can be expensive. If you aim for that kind of thing, but there's different ways that you can go about it, whether it's planning your travel, executing your travel, where you stay, that you can save so much money and have, I think just way cooler, unique experiences as a traveler.
Totally agree. I mean, that is, I think that's what, for a business traveler, for me, and that's one of the reasons I want to talk to you as well, was a lot of business travel. I'm an independent contractor, so it's not like I'm putting it on the company credit card. So when I'm traveling, I'm looking for budgets. I'm looking for safe, but not necessarily the resort quality hotels. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not looking for the necessary 5-star restaurants. I'm looking for, but I don't want Taco Bell every night.
Yeah.
It's somewhere in between, It's like, so the budget ideas, and that's why I'm starting following you. So I'm going to start gleaming some of your budget travel ideas into my own business world.
Oh, thank you.
So,
go ahead. One of my first segments I did on television was about how to make money while you're traveling on the road. And, they thought I was insane. And then I said the tips, and they're, super simple things. That's how, I'm technically always traveling for business. I'm always traveling because if I'm creating content or doing TV segments, I'm doing them from the road. And so, that is my business essentially. And so I don't just stop there. I'm like, okay, how can I also utilize this time? I have a home, I have a home in Charleston, South Carolina that we rent out. And that's also one reason we did it, is because it's an investment, but also, I can make money while I travel by renting out my own house. And it's the same thing with people that are just going for a vacation. Why wouldn't you have your vacation paid for? If you can actually rent out your property of some sort, you can do, there's 1,000 different places now. You can have a management company kind of oversee it. It is safe and it's organized, and there's insurance that covers things. There's all kinds of things that protect you. And, you're essentially traveling for free, which is, everyone's dream, and, I think about it as business angles. It's like, sell your photos that you're taking. There's so many online platforms that just buy travel photos. And if you're taking them anyways, if you're on vacation anyways, like, why not just sell those pictures and make some money off of it? I just always think of business angles as well as being able to travel and creating this content, but also ways that we can kind of make money. Or my goal is always for travel to pay for itself.
That's a good way to travel. That's interesting, because that there are a lot of opportunities for like me. Like, I'm a business traveler. So if I could find a different alternative way to turn my downtime into money time, how great would that be?
I know. It's a win-win. I always say, if you can make money off of traveling,
why not?
That's amazing. Why not try?
So,
there's so many different things you can do. You can actually rent your car out while you're gone. I know that sounds crazy, but there's just so many different avenues you can take. Because if things are just sitting there, I get some people aren't comfortable with renting out different spaces. You can rent out one room, though. You don't have to rent out your whole house. But, different avenues that you can take if there's stuff just sitting there, just collecting dust. Maybe your vacation can be extended for another week just because you did that.
It's interesting. There's a company it's so weird you said that because there is a company right down the street from me that rents out cars. And so it's people that have, and they tend to do like oddball cars, like their motorhome, or a guy's got a really nice Ford Bronco that he only drives once in a while, but he'll rent it out. One of the old Broncos. So.
I love the old Broncos. They're my favorite.
Yeah, so he's got this truck and he doesn't use it all the time, so he gives it to this company and then they rent it out and he gets paid.
Why not?
So you're just that's cool. That's a great idea, actually. See, now I'm learning stuff. Now I like it. So here's a question I have for you. How bad did the lockdown hurt your brand building over the last 6 months, 7 months?
It was a doozy. It was challenging. I think March I was in Northern California, kind of creating this content about California road trips I was writing about, and and then all of a sudden it happened very quickly. Once we hit March, and then it was probably a couple of days or maybe a week that we flew back to South Carolina because thankfully we owned a house that we could go to. But that happened, and I just sat there being like, well, how in the world do I pivot? Because what my brand is based off of is action, right? It's doing things, travel. It's all of these kind of adventures. I can't tell people to do that. I want people to stay safe. So it wasn't. It was a weird time. But then I completely just said, okay, look, what I kind of preach. I can still tell people how to do these things, but it's going to be totally outside of the box angle at it because, we all want to escape, and we all want to have something different or exciting. You said you do date night once a week. Like I've done a ton of segments about elevating date night because, we all just need to have some joy in our life and excitement. So I started with, creating these virtual experiences for people. So, I did a ton of TV segments of how to, let's escape to, I did like a Buckingham Palace one because Buckingham Palace is this really cool virtual tour where you actually go through the whole palace and you get to control it, right? That's what's cool about virtual. You can do it on your computer, on your phone even, and you guide the tour. You can like zoom in on cool stuff, room to room. So you're experiencing Buckingham Palace, which most of us don't even get to experience Buckingham Palace, and even if you went there.
Yeah.
And so I did this whole thing on TV where then I had sent the host this really cute little tea package. So like we had like high tea, and did this virtual tour, and we got all dressed up like we were royal members, like silly, but it's this kind of escape, this virtual fun experience that I did from the safety of my own home. She did it from the safety of her own home. But we felt like we were somewhere else for 30 minutes, which was the whole point,
That's good,
and yeah. I did the same thing. You can even use, Google Arts and Culture is a cool site that I actually didn't know much about it until this happened. And, they offer it's obviously Google, but they offer just museum tours. If you can take a gondola tour through the Venice Canal, all these great virtual tours or museum tours around the world. Literally, they have 2,000 options. It's insane. And so it's really fun just also too with the kids. I was kind of, angling it for education. As a family, let's all cook, authentic Mexican food and, play a mariachi band and, kind of walk through Mexico City through virtual tour together. So I was kind of creating these packages of kind of these virtual experiences. It's like you had to do something at home, whether it was cooking or making Aperol spritz or whatever it is, setting the tone, and then kind of going through this little, and so that's how I kind of changed the scope of what my brand was. I made it kind of an online experience that, it's definitely budget friendly. It's basically free, right? Besides what you might buy to make things. But, I was just kind of saying, we all need this mental break, and it went really well because everyone wants this or needs this right now. And we're still going a little, right? So I think it did really well on television because I think people needed constant reminders. They needed encouragement and motivation. Like I said, the Elevate date night, I did this pitch. So basically what I do is I write pitches on a weekly basis and I try to make them relevant. I've done a bunch of Halloween ones this week, but and I like the travel aspect, I always throw it in there. So I'm always like, let's go somewhere with it,
Yeah.
Let's create this kind of fun experience at home, but then let's go on this like kind of adventure, whether it's we watch something or, virtually or whatever it is. But it's all about just taking the time, take a little bit of effort to elevate our everyday life, get out of your pajamas, get dressed for the day and find some fun and joy right now. So that's kind of where I went with my brand, which was a little bit of a twist.
Well, it's interesting because I think we'll see how everything pans out. But from what I've heard and people I've talked to is more people are going to be working from home. Just, they're figuring out ways to work remotely. And if a company doesn't have to pay for as much office space, then, so I think what you're talking about is great because people are going to be working in their pajamas, and getting out is going to be critical and key.
Yeah. I mean, you have to look forward to something, especially at the end of the week. If you haven't left your house, I mean, if you don't see other people, you have to do stuff outside the norm. You have to jazz up your life, and, like I said, I went to Tulum for 2 months and did remote work. I was working from there, doing TV segments from there, and I did a bunch of segments about it because I said, so many companies are just not going to open back up the office, like you just said. So many companies know that they don't have to pay rent, and they're just, if people can keep up with their workload, why not, make them work from home and they don't have to pay the rent. So, my thought process that I wanted to encourage people is if you can do it safely, why not, like I did, because we can go to Mexico, move to Mexico for 2 months, have that, for me mentally, it was everything, someone that travels so much and then I couldn't travel, I was going crazy, just like everyone else.
I know the feeling.
It's so crazy. I mean, it's when you've known it for so long, you're like, whoa. It's too much time in one place. Too much time. So like I needed it. And that's why I keep trying to put myself in other people's shoes. Cause like, I know I have the luxury to be able to get up and go somewhere. A lot of people don't, they have kids and everything, but just because, kids are doing virtual school now, why not go remote with them too? Like if you can, if you feel safe with it, and I broke down the safety behind it, why I felt secure with it and what Mexico was doing that made me feel good and all that. I don't want people to feel uncomfortable, but I think that if you're going to be in the home all day, every day, why not be able to stare at the ocean at the same time?
Hey, I'm with you. I'm totally with you on that one. But I think that's going to be a new trend. So I think if you can kind of wrap your brand and your business around that, I think a lot of people are going to be, even more people will be listening to you because it's going to be a trend.
And people are leaving the cities for sure. There's been people are, I just relocated actually to LA. And I'm still going to travel, but I needed a home base, especially now, just kind of with so much uncertainty. But when we got here, there's so many people just going to Denver, going to other places. They're like, I'm working remote. Why wouldn't I just live in nature and more affordably?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you answered your own question. That's exactly right. And so, but I don't know, it's going to be interesting because business travel is going to be way down is what they're saying. So,
yeah,
but that's going to open up opportunities. So.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting to the business travel because it is going to be down, and it's going to be different now. Conferences are going to be online, and I think, but what's really cool, I think, and it is so creative that Bermuda's doing it, Barbados is doing it. They're creating these work visas that you can have now, which you could never have before. Yeah, you can go for a year. They're giving out 12-month work visas, which have never been. You can't just go to another country and work for a year. That's just not a thing. And so it's great, I think, because it's encouraging. Because everyone is suffering because tourism is down, hospitality, everyone's suffering. And so I think it's great that they're opening up opening up the door to be like, look, just work here, and we'll allow you to be here for a year. You can do anything you want. And it's such a cool opportunity. I think people, if you can, to take advantage of. Like, this is the first time this has ever happened, but it's because their economy needs us. They need people to still travel, or just the safest thing to do is to be somewhere for a longer time. Like, you're then quarantined wherever you are. It's like, just take advantage of it. I would if I could.
I just saw the thing. One of the places was Aruba, and I'm like,
yeah.
So 3 months in Aruba, huh? Oh. Let me think about this.
Yeah, you could stay 3 months in Mexico. Mexico has 3 months right now. And then, all you would have to do is, sorry to say this, but this is just what you do. You just go back to America and come right back if that's what you really wanted to do.
Yeah.
You just have to, on your passport, say that you left and came back. But yeah, they really want us. They want to have the tourism and some sort of money flow coming back into their country.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying, That's why there's going to be opportunities from this. I'm still in it, but the shock of what's going on with the pandemic and everything, and businesses are going out of business. Wedding venues are going out. Photographers, caterers, restaurants, they're going out of business because the business cycle is changing. But where's it going to go to? And I think that's going to be the next step. I
know. And it's, I have a friend that works in the music industry, kind of with music venues and stuff. And, they said they're not even having the conversation until 2021 about anything. And I think that she was like, I don't think people realize the people on the back end of that. Of course, the musicians will be fine. The bigger ones.
Yeah.
And they can kind of do these virtual concerts. So they can still put out music. They can still put out, a new album. But it's a lot of the workers in the back end. She was like, we can't produce any new shows. They're going to have to get creative though. There's, just like Obama has the other night, a drive-in, they're going to have to do kind of drive-in concerts, or they're going to have to do a lot of smaller places are doing these like kind of like 6 feet little pods that you can rent out of 6 foot, 6 foot by 6 foot. And it's like you and 4 people or 2 people, separated kind of all in a big lawn, going to have to be really creative, but we have to figure out a way, because we can't have everyone fold. We kind of have to find a way to support every industry going forward.
I just think the industry is going to change. I interviewed Justin Bieber's tour manager a week after they canceled the 2020 tour, and he had just laid off 82 people for the entire year because they only go out once a year, and he was going to be on tour I think from April to September or October. And so that was going to be their one gig for the year, and it was just gone. And it's like,
it's awful. It's so hard.
So those 80 people are like you said, you got to figure out what am I going to do next? Because, like you said, touring's not coming back anytime soon. They're talking now 2021s, but a lot of the back end people can't not work for a year and then just start up again.
Yeah, it's, I see it so much. I have a lot of friends in movies and television entertainment, and they're starting to go back. They have to get tested every day. Starting to go back, but obviously it looks different. It's like skeleton, like crew. They don't have anybody that's not completely essential. So it's like the core group, and it's hard. Like it's a challenging time for sure.
Well, we'll get through it. And, you got married, a year ago? So.
Yeah. I know.
Happy
I can't imagine now.
Into a pandemic.
I know. Everyone's like, how was your first year of marriage? I'm like, well, majority of it was during a pandemic. So it's been interesting.
So there's that.
Yeah, exactly. I feel so bad for everyone. Because it's not like, hey, okay, we'll push it. We'll push it till we don't know when. There's no ending.
There's no ending
at this point. So that's hard. It's this kind of open-ended thing that should be a happy time in their life. It's hard for no matter who you are. It's a hard time.
Yeah. So what do you see 2021 for your brand and your company and what you're doing? Are you excited about it?
Yeah, I'm excited. A lot of the reason I came back to Los Angeles is I used to live here, but is because of so much television is here, and I've been doing a lot more, and they are slowly opening up, studios and stuff. I'm doing I have an Access Hollywood segment on Monday, and we're on location, we're outside,
Yeah.
and we're reinventing it. I kind of wanted to get on the front end of that as we roll back out into a new form of what I'm not even saying normalcy. I don't know what to call it, but we roll out kind of what it's going to look like from now on. I want to be a part of that, so that I can be equipped and also just kind of just be on the front end of it. And so I hope to have a lot more television. I hope to encourage and motivate people in some sort of way, and I hope to travel again. I think it is going to be a while, but that's okay. We'll figure that out. And, I want to, roll out all different types of ways that people can kind of have these experiences still. So I hope just to create content still, encourage you to take road trips or whatever you're comfortable with. I'm going in 2 weeks back to Mexico, but on the West Coast side,
okay.
There's this brand new hotel that just opened. They just opened. Technically November 1st is their first opening day. And I know, right? And, it's interesting because they're, this all happened kind of during the last part of finalizing the hotel. And then they had a little bit of time to readjust their safety protocol. So it's like they're opening already prepared instead of having to do the backtracking, which everyone else did, And so it's, to highlight and kind of do like some live segments from there of, this is what it's going to look like for a while, but, this is what people are doing now. And because if I can get behind safely telling people to do things, I want to do it. I don't want people to feel uncomfortable at all, but, just kind of highlighting because, we're going to have to, I have friends that are just like refuse to do anything, right? They're scared to do anything, which okay.
Yeah.
And then I have friends that are feeling a little freer than others. And so we have to find this common ground. This is going to be how it is for a while. That does not mean we can't move. It doesn't mean that we can't do anything. We will go insane. So let's figure it out together, but we got to figure out something. So that's just kind of what I'm going to be focusing on, is encouraging people to still have these kind of things to look forward to, or adventures or travels or experiences, even in 2021, even in this weird time.
No, I think that's awesome, because I think the more people, there's going to be people that are going to be afraid to travel, but there's people that are kind of on the fence, and then there's people that are like, let's get going. So if you can make people feel more comfortable at whatever stage they're at, then you're doing your thing. You're doing a good job.
Thanks. I'm going to try. I'm going to find hopefully a middle ground for everyone to, hopefully we can get to that point, because we all need it, but also too, the businesses need us as well. So it goes both ways.
Absolutely. And that, like you said, there's going to be opportunities. I talked to their travel bloggers a year and a half ago on the show, and a country sent them or allowed them to come to their island. It was in Indonesia, because they got hit with a tsunami, so a lot of tourists weren't going to it anymore. And so the country literally paid for them to come and stay for a month and just blog about life on this island, and to show that it's back to normal. So,
wow.
There's going to be opportunities, like this hotel that's opening up. They're going to be wanting people like you to go talk about their hotel. So. Yeah,
and that's really cool. And it's also, there's like states right now, every state kind of has a tourism. It's like, visit South Carolina or visit whatever, right? There's so many states right now that are kind of offering these opportunities to people, because, it's to spread the word that, because there has to be balance. We have to, say, obviously, these are such amazing things about our state And also, these are the great ways that we're keeping you safe while you're here. I think there's a balance there. So that you have to constantly reassure people, but also just encourage them to do it as well. And, states, cities, like they're all, I haven't been back to New York and I've lived there for almost 10 years. I'm like scared to go back because I'm going to be so sad. Like I know that it has suffered so much and everyone says it's a ghost town. And that's what New York is. It's a heartbeat, right? It's like, has such a soul to it. I think it's like a person. It's like, and it's going to be really hard to see. And, and they're doing a really good job of keeping it under control at the moment. And so when we can, we all feel good about it. We gotta get back out there. We gotta give it a little chance and just, we know what we need to do now, whether it's masks or distancing, we know it. So as long as we do that, just be aware of our surroundings and all that, we should get back out there.
I totally agree. I'll be out there next week.
Oh, that's gonna be nice.
Gotcha.
I'm ready for a little adventure.
So, I appreciate the time. What's the best way for my listeners to follow up with you and follow you and see what you have going on?
Yeah, so my website is getlostwithlindsay.com, and that is the same for all my social media handles as well. But I try to keep it updated with tips and tricks and just kind of ideas of everything we talked about. So if you follow me along, you should, and message me too. If you have any questions, I'd love to encourage or motivate or help you out in any way. So I'm here. Feel free to message me.
I'll make sure to put all the links and all that on my website as well. So if they come to check out your episode on my website, they can just click a link and go right to your stuff because you have great
Perfect.
content.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Again, thank you so much for the time, Lindsay.
Of course. Will you enjoy your weekend and have a nice trip next week?
Okay. You have a good weekend too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.